What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of So. This is the World Christian Podcast. I am your host, Michelle. This is your other host, Jasmynne. Thank you for joining us for episode 6. We're so grateful that you're here. Before we begin, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss when we drop a video. And let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so over 4th of July weekend, a movie by the name of Sound of Freedom came out. If you guys don't know, it's based on a true story where I think his name is Tim Ballard. He ended up quitting his job to go save all these kids that got caught up in sex trafficking schemes. And it's a really good movie. If you guys haven't seen it, I recommend to go see it. If you're like me and you probably know you're going to get emotional in the movie theater, you could pay your tickets forward on their website. I'll put the link in the description box down below. And you can buy your tickets for somebody else to use. And then you could just wait to see it on streaming services like I am, because I can't cry in the theater. I can't cry in person. But because this movie is out now, for some reason, child sex trafficking has now become a left and right issue instead of just a common sense, this is bad issue. So because of that, you had a lot of mainstream media sites calling it a QAnon adjacent film. So to give you guys kind of an example, The Guardian said it is a QAnon adjacent thriller that's seducing America. And they call it a paranoid new movie as well. You also had Rolling Stone call it the superhero movie for dads with brainworms, and as a QAnon tinged thriller about child trafficking. And then CNN did a whole piece on their actual live media network where they also called it a QAnon promoted movie, which is weird because it's literally a true story where a guy saved a bunch of kids from being sex trafficked. And there's a whole organization based on it now because that guy quit his job to do that. And I don't know, the media is turning it into a left and right issue, and to be even more of a left and right issue, you now have the Department of Justice. So I'm going to share this with you guys real quick. The Department of Justice has just removed the international sex trafficking of minors from their areas of concern page. So mind you, this is under the Biden administration. So they're still making this a left and right issue, which I don't know why. The DOJ's criminal division removed a total of 3 subject areas from its child trafficking page: the international sex trafficking of minors, domestic sex trafficking of minors, and child victims of prostitution. Basically, what's happening is they're taking this off as an area of concern. They're acting like it's not happening, which is very weird, considering a lot of this is going on ever since Biden, I think he lifted it at the border. Yeah, this comes as the Biden administration's open border policy has actually accelerated human trafficking at the southern border, which has become $1 billion business. Human trafficking increased massively in the last fiscal year. Arrests rose 50%. Convictions soared by 80%, and the vast majority, 72% of those trafficked in the U.S. are immigrants. Most of them are here illegally. And I believe the actual number of kids that have been trafficked over the border ever since he had this open policy, I think they said it was around 85,000, which is extremely sad. And then with that also going on, we also have this going on in California. So just recently, a California Assembly committee blocked a bill that could have sent human traffickers of kids to prison for life. The California Assembly Committee on Public Safety blocked a bill that would increase the charges for human trafficking. The Golden State Lower House Committee considered Senate Bill 14, which would make the human trafficking of children a serious felony. Serious felony charges under California law currently include murder, ARP, and any other crime which may incur the death penalty or life sentence in state prison. However, instead of upping the ante on child traffickers, the California Assembly Public Safety Committee nuked the measure on Tuesday, unfortunately. So, once again, I don't know why this is a left-right issue. I don't know why Democrats are acting like this isn't a problem when it obviously is. And then now you have California getting in on it. So when we talk about the open border policy, California is like right there. So imagine this law now being nuked all these child traffickers that are already going across the border can now just go to Cali and do the same thing, and they know nothing's going to happen to it, which is sad, honestly. Like,
Yeah, it is so depraved and disgusting, and I'm constantly reminded of the Bible's teaching on humanity and how we are just
yeah.
absolutely wicked. We are
Mhm.
wicked to our core. And there tends to be a belief on the secular side that people are basically good. I don't believe that, because if people are basically good, the United States would not be the number one consumer of child pornography
Yep.
and child sex trafficking,
Yep.
and Mexico would not be the number one supplier of children
Hmm.
for this purpose.
Yep.
It's depraved, it's evil. People are not basically good, and this is the perfect example of why we need a savior to begin with. It's
Yeah.
sickening, and it's crazy the censorship going on right now. Um, I have experienced, I did a video on, well, this morning I did a video on this very topic,
Yep.
and they disabled my comments. And
Yep.
it's just like, why? Why are you scared of people discussing a movie? Why are you scared of people bringing light to this issue?
Mhm.
It's a little sus. It's a little sus.
It is. Only people that would be scared of talking about child trafficking would be child traffickers. You know, when you want to talk
Yeah.
about pedophiles and you'd be like, oh, yeah, pedophiles deserve the harshest penalties. And you have people that's just like, hey, now, you shouldn't say that. I'm going to look at them and be like, bro, are you a pedo? Like,
Yeah.
that's why I say that this is weird that it's become a left right issue now. I just kind of figure like, this is a common sense issue. This is bad, right? So we should punish those who do this bad thing. Never once in my life did I think this would be like, oh, this is a QAnon conspiracy theory. This is a far alt right conspiracy right here. It's like, no, this is this is very real. Unfortunately, this is very real, and it goes on all over the world. It needs to be stopped.
And I watched actually I reacted to a segment on my channel. Like I said, this is the video that I was talking about,
Hmm.
where I reacted to a news segment in which the CNN contributor was basically painting this movie as if it was some kind of QAnon adjacent,
Hmm.
da 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 da, and they tried to brush off the problem as if it was nothing and focus on the QAnon part, where it's like, oh, these right wing QAnon crazy tinfoil hat people, and they can never really give you a straight answer as to what QAnon is. But anytime I've looked it up, it's always been about the fact that the QAnon conspiracy technically is a an elite ring of pedophiles that basically assault children, and everything that they choose to do is to feed into this depraved desire that they have. That's how I understand QAnon to be. And they try to use it as a smear, like, oh, you're a QAnon conspiracy theorist. And at this point, you haven't shown me evidence to say that's not the case, though.
I'm kind of with you because I've never met a QAnon person ever in my whole life. Like I've heard the term, and they keep associating it with the right side and conservatives and all this stuff, and I'm just like, I never even met one. I don't even know what y'all talking about. So to label this movie is that, I'm like, this is a true story. There's actual video out from like the sting operation where the guy busted these people that they do in the movie because they have the actual video evidence. All of this is real. And it's funny because I think this was like a decade ago when all this happened. CNN was applauding this a decade ago on their network. And now they're just like, oh no, this is nonsense. This isn't real. It's like you literally covered it. You covered the story a whole decade ago and you were applauding this man for saving these kids. It makes
Yeah.
no sense.
It's insane. And then the fact that this particular movie was owned by Fox first, then Disney acquired Fox, and then
Yup.
for I don't know how long it took, but It wasn't until Angel Studios got in
Stepped
on the
in.
deal because
Yep.
Disney would not release this movie, which is
Yep.
very weird.
It's very
Very
telling.
weird.
You got to think about all the people. Remember they did that big sting bust at Disney World or Disneyland, whichever the big one in Florida is called. I'm not a Disney kid, but
Disney World. Yeah, it's
okay.
Disney World.
Yeah, they busted all those adult workers, and they were all part of a child pornography ring. All of them, and they all worked at Disney World.
Well, I
So,
mean, it's kind of like going to like when you have this pedo in a van hanging out by
mhm,
the ice cream shop in the neighborhood park.
yep,
You're going to where they are, and this
mhm,
is perfect for Disney. Perfect for Disney World. Of course, you would have these type of people purposely going to a place like this.
yep,
But when it comes to the movie, my gosh, like the way that they have been smearing Tim Ballard, who is the man the story is actually based on, and
yep,
then the actor who plays him has been getting smeared constantly over
yep,
this. It is sickening, and it shows you Christians watching out there, they do not care about you. So you might as
yep,
well stand up for what is good and right and true.
yep,
Don't worry about them being, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist and all this and that. Doesn't matter if you literally save children from sex trafficking, you will
mhm,
still get slandered by the demonic forces that
yeah,
are present in within these people's souls.
yep. So you might as well, like the Bible says, you might as well stand 10 toes down for Jesus at this point, because you play for the world at any point, they're gonna hang you out to dry regardless. It don't
That's
matter
right.
what you do. Yeah. And I think the Bible talks about that too. They said God will provide for you regardless. And you notice the guy who plays Tim Ballard in the movie, Jim Caviezel, he stated that Hollywood hasn't like cared for him ever since he played Jesus in Passion of the Christ. Yet he's fine. God has taken care of him very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he still does movies and he good. Just to let y'all know, y'all gotta stand 10 toes down. Like either you with God or you not.
Yeah, he's not about that wishy-washy, lukewarm Christianity. He's not about it.
Yup.
And it's scary. I get it. It's scary. It's scary to lose the approval of men if you still hold on to that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But and it's scary the persecution that will absolutely come, but it's coming anyway. So if
Yup.
you don't believe in Christ, I would reconsider that position. Honestly,
Yeah.
reconsider that position.
I would too. I mean, you might as well at this point, because if you already believe in protecting kids, they're already going to label you as a QAnon conspiracy alt right, whatever they be calling it. And we're also at the point where, like, depending on certain beliefs that you have, you might also be a white supremacist too. So,
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you're black.
it right? Do you know how many people they're trying to normalize this whole like, oh yeah, we're starting to see the Asian community join white supremacists now and black Americans and and Spanish Americans. And you're like, for some white supremacists, they're pretty diverse nowadays.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Must gotta hit those ESG scores.
Oh man.
All right, y'all. Let us know what you think about all this in the comment section down below. Did you go see the movie? Did you like it? How do you feel about all of this? Biden's Department of Justice not making this like a big deal anymore. California doing nothing for child traffickers at this point. Let us know what you think in the comment section down below, and maybe we will pick your comment to read on next week's episode. All right, guys, after the podcast, make sure you go check out Jasmynne's channel. It's called Bold Reflections YT right here on YouTube. She basically discusses topics about life, faith, and culture through a Christ-focused perspective. Everything you're getting from her here, you're going to get way more over on her channel. She's done interviews with people. It's awesome. When you get the chance, hit the link in the description box down below and go check her channel out. You will not regret it. All right, y'all. So last week, unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of comments because YouTube shadow banned our podcast. But I was able to pull 4, so I guess that's the best we can do with what happened. So to start us off, we have first comment from Purple Honey 6119, and she says, I know we all say to these people to stop shoving this down our throats, and like they really are, because you get in trouble and called names if you even disagree. But at the same time, instead of saying that, I'm like, okay, but is the thing they're shoving down our throats actually correct, the truth, or right? Because they'll say the same thing about Christians doing that, but we actually have basis to why we believe this thing and why it's wrong. Plus, most of us aren't going to shame and hurt you over it. That 16-year-old story straight up sounds like one of those animes where the anime girl is a bio killing machine made by the government, and she's like 15 years old physically.
Is that about the like the Catholic school thing
I think
where
that
they
was
were?
about the FBI grooming that kid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, I guess the first part, when they said, is what they're saying actually correct, the truth, or right? A lot of times when you hear people just trying to be inclusive, they're trying to live in the world. So they're like, my body, my choice, love is love, all this other stuff, right? That's not correct or right in any sense of the word. It's just not. They're just repeating things they heard because it sounds good and you just want to fit in with everybody else. But none of it's right. Versus like they brought up with the Bible, everything we believe actually does have basis to it, right? So when you say thou shalt not kill, where did that come from? You know, adultery's bad, where did that come from? So we don't live in the world where they're just like, oh yeah, no, let people do whatever they want. If we just let people do whatever they want, it would be straight anarchy out here. It would be horrible.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just like the they shove everything down our throats, but the moment that you push back on any of it,
Mm-hmm.
oh, why do Christians always try to push their morality on us? And it's like, but you're literally pushing your morality on us. I don't understand. You are having cognitive dissonance right now. It's
Yeah,
wild.
if you ever ask any of them, it'd be like, what makes you think your opinion is correct? Right? They usually can't answer that. It's usually just like, because it just is. It's like, okay, well, we have actual backing for ours, to the point that a lot of the rules and stuff we still follow in society is followed from that backing. A lot of unbelievers are just gonna, like, when you live in the world, you're just gonna do whatever you want. And we've been there at one point, so we get it. But until they actually open their eyes and have that moment with Jesus where they're just like, whoa, I get it now, they're never gonna get it. All right, our next comment is from Good Witch Intuitive Tarot. They said Judgment Day will be a real shocker to the bullies and mean girls with prejudiced hearts on the day they meet their maker and realize everything they were taught to believe and every cruelty they cast at others was everything that has lost them their seat in heaven. If any religion or belief system is causing you to be unkind, prejudiced, cold, and mean, ask yourself why. Sending love and light to you all. All right, well, you literally call yourself a witch and you got tarot in your name. So you're definitely not going to understand how Judgment Day works in like the slightest. But the fact that you think we're being bullies or mean girls because we think a woman transitioning to be a man is wrong, because it is wrong. Like, it just is. God wants you to be who he made you to be. Like, if that girl was meant to be a boy, God would have made her a boy, right? You don't understand how Judgment Day works. To sit there and say, on the day they meet their maker and realize everything they were taught to believe will lose them their seat in heaven. That doesn't make sense what you just said. If Jesus says, hey, act like X, Y, and Z, and I say, hey, you are a good, faithful servant, how would you lose your seat? How would you lose your seat following exactly what he said?
Yeah. And Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Whosoever believes in me. And I check that box personally, and Good Witch Intuitive Tarot. If you can't say the same, then that love and light that you are sending to me at the end there, keep it. I don't want none of that good witch light and love from you. I'm sorry, but that is deception. And if you're gonna come at us with saying things like we're mean and we're bullies, there is no love in your position of supporting people living in deception, right?
Yeah.
This trans man, so-called trans man,
Hmm.
who is truly a woman, is literally suffering emotionally because they are living in deception. And people
Hmm.
like you who think that the truth is cold and mean, how is it like, how is that love?
It's
Nah,
not.
keep your false love away from me. I'm good.
I think the best way, so the best way I explained this to somebody before, because they couldn't understand why like God gives us free will and stuff, and why we do the things we do. And it's like, why not just act right and blah blah blah, or do XYZ. Somewhere in that conversation, we had got to the point where I'm like, we're God's children, right? And all He wants for us to do is listen. Very simple. Now, because we were born into sin, it's a little hard. We'd be doing some goofy stuff, right? But if you look at this through the eyes of a parent, all you want is your child to just listen. So if you be like, hey, smoking crack is bad, don't you ever do that, and your kid starts smoking crack, you're not going to sit there and be like, well, I love you, so keep it going. You're going to be highly upset and you're going to try to correct that wrong, whatever correcting that wrong is to you and your parenting style. But that's all this is. So we are following what Jesus tells us, and we are following the Bible. Like we said, we don't know who in this girl's life talked to her prior to, but if somebody talked to her prior to and was like, hey, don't do this, you're going to ruin your life, because you can't go back from here no matter what you do. Like, you can detransition, but nothing's ever going to be the same, right? If she chopped her breast off, like, you can get the implants, but they're not real anymore, right? So that's problem number one, right? If you destroyed your vagina to kind of get like a fake penis, you can't go back to a vagina. That's done. You're never going to experience orgasm or anything else again. Your body is destroyed and ruined. God doesn't want you to do that. So if you look at people telling you don't do that as you're being mean and you're being a bully, you don't love this person, it's like, I love them enough to tell them not to destroy their lives. Now, whatever they do after that, and then they'd be like, oh no, I messed my life up. You don't look at them and be like, well, duh. It's like, I was trying to tell you that. It's like, I still love you, and now we have to figure out how to fix this to the best of our abilities, but you're never going to be whole again. It's just never going to be the same.
That's right.
And I
That's
wish
right.
more people like this understood that. So, like, nobody's being unkind when we tell you don't do this stupid thing to yourself. It's like, we're telling you this because we love you and we don't want you to make the mistake that you can't come back from. That's all. That's all. I actually hope that you get the witch and stuff out of your name, because you calling yourself a good witch and all. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. I really hope you watch the podcast for a reason. I hope a seed was planted somewhere. Maybe we not the waterers. Maybe you come across something else. But I really hope you get up out of all of that.
There's better things out there for you, Good Witch Intuitive Tarot, and I pray that you come to see the truth.
All right, our next comment is from Brian MU, and he says, us men are just as deep. We just have to bottle it all up. He's not the first guy I heard say that, which is actually really sad. I understand why men have to do that, because they can't be seen weak in the world. But I do want to tell you, though, if you have the right woman in your life, you can let that out to her. And I know that's hard because guys been burned by the wrong chicks before, where they thought they had the right chick, and then, I don't know if you ever seen the videos where some women be like, oh, once he started pouring his heart out to me, I was turned off, and but if you find the right woman, they'll let you, do that. You can be honest and emotional with them when you guys are together. You just
And
got
if
to find
you
the right one.
Right. And if you don't have someone like that in your life, we all know that bottling up our emotions is very toxic.
Yeah.
And you need to cast those feelings, those burdens, those worries, those insecurities, those traumas that are real. And yes, men go through severe traumas. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Cast it at the feet of Jesus, because only he can bring you the peace you need. And you can pray that he put people in your life that you can also share and unload those feelings with. It might not be a therapist. Maybe it is a therapist. It might not be a girlfriend. Maybe it is a girlfriend. I don't know what it would look like, but you can never go wrong with Christ Jesus.
Yep. I'm glad you mentioned that, because what they can do, this is what I would recommend. Find a good church, and not only, start being part of the services, but if they have a men's group, which most good churches do, join that men's group, because all of this right here, um, you can be honest and real with them as well. And even the elders of your church, which should be men, you can also be honest with them as well. That's what I would recommend as well, since you mentioned that. All right, our last comment of the day is from King Penguin 1. And he says, I'm loving this podcast. Each week is better than before. Thank you, my man. We appreciate you.
We always appreciate our regulars.
Yeah.
Always.
We love y'all, man.
We
Y'all,
sure do.
y'all are the backbone of the channel. We appreciate y'all.
I love you, King Penguin.
All right, y'all. That was the comments for this week. Like I said, not a lot, because we got shadow bans. But it happens. That means we're doing something right. So we're on the right page. So that's good. That's good. But keep dropping the comments. Hopefully we don't get shadow banned this episode. And hopefully we'll pick one of y'all comments for next week's episode. Okay, so recently, I think a few weeks back, Demi Lovato dropped a song called Swine, which is I guess about Roe v. Wade. Because I think it dropped on the anniversary of Roe v. Wade, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this is her response to all of that. For those that don't know, Demi Lovato's kind of she has mental problems. And that's not me just saying that to be like a hater. She had a lot of drug problems and issues. And I think because something happened, she went to a coma after one drug binge. It did mess her up in here, because she talked about it herself. So she is kind of messed up in the brain. And just real quick before we get into her new song, a few months back, she did drop an album that was straight against Christianity. And I talked about this before on my channel. And I kind of just want to show this to you guys right here. So this is like the album cover. A lot of the songs were her feelings against Christianity and how she just doesn't like it at all. It goes against everything that she believes now, ever since she came out of that coma. She's big on the pronouns, because like every other week she's changing them. And this is kind of like, this is her thing now. She goes against the Christians. She goes against anybody that goes against the world, in a nutshell. So she drops this song called Swine. We're kind of going to go over the lyrics a little bit together to kind of show how wild this is, since this was dropped on the Roe v. Wade anniversary. But in verse 1, she says, God forbid I want to S whatever the F I want. It's going to be hard to read, because I noticed you did the same thing. So Jasmynne reacted to this on her channel. And I'm going to put the link in the description box as well. But, okay. God forbid I want to F whoever the F I want. And if he ejaculates, I guess I got to be a mother. Let's stop there real quick. So yes, that's how sex works. I don't know why you shocked about that. But yes, if you have unprotected sex, you're going to get pregnant. Because that's
what? Nuh-uh.
That's just how it functions. Then she goes on to say, F what I think. I don't know a thing. The government knows my body. No, it's okay. It's better this way. I'm only a carbon copy. Even if I'm dying, they'll still try to stop me. So basically she's going into how, oh, the government thinks they know my body. She's one of those people where it's like, my body, my choice. And I really don't like when women say that, because it takes two to tango, first off. So when you like to make this decision, you want to have just raw sex with whoever, right? And then you're just like, now I'm pregnant. I don't want this pregnancy. I got to get rid of this baby. Your first line of defense for birth control, for whatever reason, is abortion for most women. And I don't understand that in the slightest, because there's like 50 steps you could have taken before getting to that point. And to get mad about the government saying like, ah, it's gonna be state regulated now, and so depending what state you live in, it's gonna be if this happens or not. So for her to be upset about that, it's like, you didn't have to have sex to begin with. That's like
Yeah.
first line of defense right there.
It just shows how when you are living a sinful lifestyle, you become a slave to your sin.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that sounds like almost like you have an uncontrollable desire to do the sexual act, so much so that you can't go through all the necessary precautions to prevent pregnancy, like birth control, abstinence, whatever it is, or even just the general responsibility of, okay, well, my actions are going to have consequences. Doesn't mean that I should be able to murder my baby.
Right?
It's wild.
It's just crazy too how people, I'm like, okay, y'all not afraid of pregnancy because the whole abortion thing. Y'all not afraid of STDs? Like, I just don't. There's a whole slew of consequences that comes with just not protecting yourself and wanting to sleep with whoever. It's very weird. And before anybody comes in here and is like, what about ARP? What about incest? It's only about 1% of all abortions. And I think it's under 1%, but we're just going to say 1%. It's 1% of all abortions. The other 99 is literally just people using it as birth control. That's
Yeah.
literally all that is.
Wanting to, what does the lyric say? S whoever the F they want to.
Yep.
And I don't even know whatever the rest of it says, but her song perfectly highlights that. That it's just that she wants to be sexual, doesn't matter the consequence, doesn't matter the purpose of sex being procreation. You are a slave to your sexual desires. That's what it is. You can't control yourself.
It's super sad. And then to make a whole song about this where it's like, yeah, let me tell you how I feel. It's like, lady, practice safe sex or practice abstinence, but like, don't get mad if like a baby is the outcome of all of this. We know how sex works. All right. So to move on to the chorus, she's like, my life, my voice, my rights, my choice. Once again, the whole my body, my choice thing. It's mine or I'm just swine. So I guess she's comparing herself to a pig. I Weird.
What yeah, it's I'm taking it to mean that the government having the right to stop you from murdering your child means that they don't respect you, woman. You're just a pig. So she's like, well, I guess I'm just swine. That's, I think, what she's trying to say.
It probably is because I can't. So I'm probably gonna add this in post, you guys. But the music video, it's like how you explained it perfectly. It's like a Handmaid's Tale type thing going on, and then she has her own version of like the Last Supper, but it's just her and her lyrics, which is very weird. But you guys will see it. I'll add it on the screen. So we get into the second verse. She says, "Picture your faith. Imagine your God and even your holy Bible is suddenly banned. Do you understand? I mean, it is banned in a lot of places, and they're starting to ban it here in America too, in like certain states and areas. So this definitely ain't the same as abortion, though. But this is a bad comparison.
I just think that that is such a weak argument. You're saying because it's the Bible that tells us we shouldn't murder our children. I thought the whole leftist view was that you didn't need the Bible or to be a Christian to have morality, right? Okay, so on that principle, if that's the case, which I actually semi disagree with, I think that it's just arbitrary if you take God out of the picture. Then it's just your opinion versus their opinion. But regardless, let's say for the sake of argument that indeed, you don't have to follow the Bible to have morality, or to have righteous morality, let's say. Um, it's not about the Bible, Demi. It's about we don't want you to murder your child. And on the video
Yeah.
that I did in my channel, I had an animated depiction. This was a video by Live Action on YouTube.
Yeah.
And they basically explain what is happening during an abortion. A
Mhm.
doctor, a former abortionist, is explaining it, and I had the sound muted. I just wanted to show people the visuals of the
Mm-hmm.
brutality of abortion. It is
Yep.
sickening. It
Yep.
is sickening. They tear limbs, they crush the skull, they
Mm-hmm.
suck the baby out with a vacuum. It
Mm-hmm.
is sick. And you just want to S and F whoever you want, and we're all Bible thumpers for having a problem with it. That's insanity.
And it's crazy because when their arguments, when they're just like, oh, it's just a clump of cells, right? That's the main argument. It's like, if it's just a clump of cells, how come when they pull this baby out of your body, there's limbs and body parts to go with this? If it's just a clump of cells, right? Like, and I never understood that in the slightest, because I'm like, you can still. I saw a video earlier. Somebody was like 7 or 8 weeks along, and the heartbeat was going in their ultrasound. I don't think it was the heart because I had my ultrasound too, so it's not like the heartbeat how we hear ours. It's slightly different at that stage, but the heart activity is still there, and
Yeah,
you
it's
can still see it. And when people be like, "Oh no, there's not a baby inside," there's a whole baby inside of you. Like,
oh
I'm at the
yeah,
stage we saw their fingers in the ultrasound. I'm like, "What you gonna tell me this is? This a clump of cells? This a
right.
hand?"
Well, yeah, and then you have people like Stacey Abrams, who is out here
Oh
saying that
yeah.
when you, like you experienced, you went and had your ultrasound, you got to hear the heartbeat, all
Mm-hmm.
of the things. Nope, that's just a manufactured sound from white supremacists or something like that.
Yeah, I remember.
Like it, the depravity, just I don't understand.
It's so evil. It's extremely evil. I don't get how they could think like that in the slightest. It's like that's a whole human being. I don't know if you ever saw the picture, but there was a woman, and I don't get this. I don't get this mentality. When she was pregnant, she had a sign up that said, "This is not a baby," pointing to her pregnant stomach. And she was like far along. She had to be like in week 30 something at the size she was at. And then the picture next to it was her holding her baby, and then it was like, "This is a baby," and I'm like, "Are you stupid? What do you think was inside of you the whole time?"
Yeah, it's such an anti-science position. Like for the left who claims they're trusting the science, they're completely dismissing the science when it
Yeah,
comes to fetal development. It's insanity.
it is. It is. Now, doesn't that sound entitled? It's your book, but it's my survival. How's abortion survival? She says we gotta grow them, we gotta raise them, we gotta feed and bathe them. Yeah, it's a baby. And if you won't, they call you a witch to burn at the stake in Salem. Thought by now they'd change, but we're still waiting. Ma'am, we're waiting on you to change. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, we
I
gotta
hope you're
grow
waiting
them?
for a long time, lady, because we are not giving up this fight. This is one of the most evil practices that has ever happened in American history and continues to happen. It is sick, and you will never, no matter how many songs you put out, no matter how much you scream on Twitter about this, you will never convince me that what you're doing is okay.
Yeah, I'm with you because I just don't understand the whole we gotta raise it, we gotta feed it. Yes, it's a baby. What did you think was gonna happen?
Well, and then this is a point that I made on the video that I did. They always talk about all the negatives of motherhood, but they never bring up the absolute love and joy and laughter that a child brings into your life. That no matter
Yeah,
how much, raw, unfiltered, you know, fornication you got going on in your life, you will never be as happy as when you're a mother. It's just not going to happen.
yeah,
But yeah, yes, it is exhausting. You got to bathe them. You got to feed them. You got to put them to bed and change diapers. Yes, who
yeah,
cares? It's it's love. It's the definition of love is to sacrifice your time, your energy for another human. It's just it's a real shame that she won't experience that kind of love that you can get from your child. It's just sad, very sad.
it is sad because, like I said, I'm still in the stage. I got weeks. I got weeks to go. But like that, when you get that first ultrasound, man, like you already happy prior to that, but then the feeling from that. where you just like, wow, because now you seeing them and they moving. It's like, oh, I'm in love. It's like ain't nobody even here to hold yet. So I couldn't even imagine looking at that and be like, yeah, let's go ahead and get him up out of here. Let's get rid of this kid. I can't even imagine. And there's people that do like late term abortions, or as they go along, you know how you can get the genetic testing if you want, and people be like, oh, my kid's gonna have Down syndrome. Ugh, let me go ahead and abort him. I just don't understand. I don't
Yeah.
understand how you have that thought process after seeing everything.
Yeah, it's sick. It's absolutely sick. It is the devaluation of human life. That is literally what it is.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the Down syndrome stuff. It's very dark and depraved, very sad.
Yeah. I think in the Netherlands, I think I read this last week, they're starting to do like assisted suicide and abortions on kids that have Down syndrome. I think it's the Netherlands. If I'm wrong, I'll correct this in post and put the correct thing on screen, but I think the article said it was them because it was crazy.
That's evil.
Oh, it's super evil.
I hope these people don't think they're any more morally righteous than literally Nazis. Like the back in the day,
Well, at
I'm
least you're
telling
using the term correctly.
I mean, yeah, the 1930s, 1940s, they literally used the same arguments to justify the murder of millions of Jews and
Yup.
mentally retarded people. This is what they
Mm-hmm.
did. And you're
Yup.
doing the exact same thing because you're devaluing human life just like they did. It's
Yup.
crazy.
At least you use the term correctly, because they use it super incorrectly. You could be like, hey, I don't want you to murder anybody, and they'd be like, ah, you Nazi. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense in the slightest. Nazis killed people.
I don't think they have a deep understanding of history, honestly.
No, they just say stuff because they don't use fascist correctly either, or commie. They don't use any of those words.
White supremacists, none
That
of it.
too, yeah. Because apparently we're white supremacists, but you know.
I guess.
All right, let me finish. Let me do the bridge. Let me do the bridge so we can end this. She says, undercompensated to domesticated. What? Undercompensated? What does she mean by this? Oh, the gender wage gap? That's not a real thing. All right, well, underestimated, overregulated, under celebrated, hate dominated. We're infuriated, got us activated, ever dedicated, newly motivated, and if you're awake, then I'm so glad you made it. Ma'am, you are the most sleep. You're not awake in any of this. Any of this. The whole undersell. These are all feminist talking points. And feminism has just been downhill for us since when did it, like the 60s, or when did it really get pushed here? Because it was pushed on our parents, but it was like it had to have been in the 60s or 70s or something.
I think the sexual revolution was prominent during the late 60s, early
Yeah,
70s is when it started.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you might have
somewhere
to look
around
that
there.
up and maybe put that on the screen too.
Yeah, but that hasn't been good for us
No, it's
in the
been horrible.
slightest.
Yeah, and a lot of the thinkers of that time, the John Moneys and the Alfred Kinseys, who were really,
The
really depraved.
pedos.
Yeah, they were pedophiles,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why we see the transgender movement so
Mm-hmm.
radically pushed down our throats. Same thing with abortion, taking
Mm-hmm.
away the beauty of motherhood, saying, "Oh, you're just barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen." Guess what? I loved being barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. Wouldn't have it any other way.
I don't understand why people think that's like a crazy thing. It's like, ew, you want to be a housewife? That sounds horrible. It's like, you mean I get to stay home every day and I don't have to go into a job and be stressed out by other people? I get to just be in my comfy house and take care of my family? Sign me up,
Yeah,
okay?
it is a dream, and they're just jealous. They're just jealous.
It is. There was actually a study done where they said it was like 80 something percent of women in the workforce stated if they actually had the chance to be stay at home wives, they would be stay at home wives. And I was like, oh, what a shocker. Who would have thought staying home every day while the man takes care of it all? Well, that's it's literally a dream.
Yeah, honestly. And hey, I understand that people need to go out and work because of the economic situation that we are in. This
Yeah,
is no shame to working women whatsoever at all. I
yeah,
have love for you. I'm talking about the people who make motherhood out to be this horrific thing, or being a
yeah,
stay-at-home mom as like you're failing society or you're failing womanhood because you're not bringing home the bacon or something. Like, no, that's who I'm targeting in
yeah,
my disdain.
yeah. Because they're the ones that don't get it. They're the ones that they swallowed that feminism pill where they're like, yay, girl boss, and I'm gonna put off being a wife and a mother, and I'm gonna go as long as I possibly can. And it's like, the older you get, the harder things get because it's just natural. So, because once we hit our mid 30s, you're middle aged technically because most people die once they hit 70. So, and I know a lot of people don't like to think about it that way. They like to think about like your late 40s and 50s, your middle age. And it's like, no, in your 30s, you hit middle age. So, once you hit that point and you're older, especially as a woman, then you start hitting the geriatric pregnancy ages. So now you're high risk pregnancy. Anything could go wrong. It's best to get a lot of this out the way in your 20s. And I know a lot of us wasn't taught that, and we ate the pill or whatever, but y'all gotta really let that go because that's not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
So
definitely. And I don't know. I just really feel bad for people who write off being a mother um because they don't want to bathe them and feed them and all these things. And it's like, oh man, you're really missing out. You're really missing out because there's no love so deep as the one you will feel for your children. I talked about in my channel too, and I've talked about this in my testimony, that the love of being a mother was what originally, that was the first start of me becoming a Christian, because I was an atheist for almost 10 years. And when I felt the love that and even before I gave birth, but when I found out I was pregnant, it like immediately changed my heart, because now I'm not living for
yeah.
just myself. Now, what is really the best for my child? Like, let me make sure that if I'm going to reject God, that I know what I'm rejecting, that I understand what I'm rejecting, because this is going to have a huge impact on my little baby.
Mm-hmm.
And then just that maternal love that you feel, it mirrors the love that our heavenly Father has for us. And that was when I truly understood how much Christ loves us. If I love this human, this baby human, so deeply, like so incredibly deeply, how much more does God love me? And how
Yeah.
much more does God love my child? It really, and I think that a lot of people don't get to ever understand the love that God has for his children, because they don't get to feel that. They
Mhm.
write themselves off forever. And I understand some people are infertile. I get that. And it's heartbreaking for them. But for the people who are wanting to screw whoever they want and then murder their babies, they really misunderstand the Father's love for us.
They really do. They, because I think they call themselves dinks now. Hold on, let me look this up. Yeah, they call themselves dinks now. So it's like dual income, no kids. And their whole thing is like, we never want to have children. And they're, if the chick ever gets pregnant, they're just like, whatever, we'll just get an abortion. That's just how they view it. It's like birth control to them. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, if you don't want to have kids, I guess, people can't force you to have kids, but maybe take better precautions. Like, instead of murdering your baby once they're here, like maybe wear a condom or get a vasectomy, my guy. I don't recommend that for people, but if that's the life you're trying to go down, you have better options before we get to abortion.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Let us know what you think in the comment section down below. How do you feel about Demi Lovato's song? that she released on the anniversary of Roe v. Wade. Let us know. We would love to hear what you have to say about that. And who knows, we might pick your comment for next week's episode. Hey, once the podcast is over and you guys have a minute, go ahead and check out my channel. It's titled It's Your Girl Saying. Basically, I go over life topics, Christianity topics. I live stream every Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. EST. On Mondays and Tuesdays, we do what's called the Conservative Christian Show, where we go over all the topics in culture and we look at it through a Christ-focused perspective. You know, on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I have a show called Christian Game Room where I'm playing video games, but in between segments or pausing the game or whatever, we're having talks about the Bible. We're having talks about God, right? You guys may even bring things to my attention about what's going on in certain areas of Christianity. We just have nice long discussions about all of it. And if you're into any of that, gaming, culture, Christ, all of it, make sure to check out my channel. You will not be disappointed. All right, y'all. So for our last video of the podcast, we're going to watch a quick video. It's under a minute and a half. And it's about a father going off about what happened to his 9-year-old son when he took him for a doctor's appointment. I think it was for a physical. But we're going to go ahead and watch this. And we're going to give our opinion on what he's talking about.
I'm literally on fire right now. I just got off the phone with my wife, who took my 9 and 7-year-old boys to the doctor today to get physicals for tackle football and school next year and all that other shit. My 9-year-old son went in first, and the first thing this woman asks him is if he identifies as a boy, a girl, gender fluid, or non-binary. My son, he's never heard of any of that shit before. You've been dealing with him your whole life. He is clearly a boy's boy. So what are you, trying to plant a fucking seed in his head? The only thing I could be thankful for is that my wife took them instead of me. And props to my wife because she said something. And if she didn't, they would have asked my 7-year-old son the same damn question. This shit is ridiculous. And to the people out there who think that there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm just a transphobe or all that shit, you're fucked up. This is bullshit. And there's something wrong with you.
Oh, he's a mean bully. Well, honestly, I would be absolutely livid. I would be absolutely infuriated over this because at such a young age, and the doctor is the one that is introducing these concepts instead of the parents. That's wild to me. I would be, oh my God. I don't even know.
You hear what he said? He said that doctor had been their doctor that kid's whole life. So the whole life, she ain't said that till now that he's 9.
Wow.
Now it's like, oh, what you identify as? It's like, excuse me? Like, what do you mean? Like, you've probably been the pediatrician since birth. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and it's very concerning the fact that it's coming from the pediatrician. Like, I get it. Teachers are very indoctrinated in schools and stuff sometimes. You have these leftist teachers, but to have a leftist pediatrician, I find that to be scary. I find that to be scary because you are ignoring all of the science about how detrimental these types of treatments are. And for you to, it's not like they're prescribing cross-sex hormones yet, but you're introducing the concept so that maybe if they are possibly whatever, then you could be the doctor to prescribe such a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and sterilize my child. That's wild.
Yep. Because you see, like, I think it was Boston's Children's Hospital, were the main ones where they were talking about the child could pick their gender, so they don't tell the gender at birth and all that nonsense. And I think they're the same hospital. It's them. There's another one. I don't remember what state it is, but they were talking about having charts that the kid could sign up for. A kid where they can say whatever they want. If they want to transition or whatever, the parents can never have access to those files to know what's going on. And I'm like, these are children. What are you talking about?
That's insanity. I know in some states for a fact, like at 14, if the parents want to do like access their medical records or something like that, they have to get signed permission from their 14-year-old. But that starts at age 14. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's in conservative states, which is crazy to me. But this is a fallen country. We are falling fast, very fast.
I'm not gonna lie, I actually thought about this because when I was looking for like my original doctor for my appointment, I was like, I don't even know who to go to. Like, I literally typed in Christian OBGYNs because I had no clue where to go. And I know every hospital is like a little bit different, but where I live, they have this thing where they set you up on the phone and they create this profile for you, and then they send you an email and they're just like, okay, you can access everything online after this initial setup. Online, I was able to go in and they had the option for religion. So of course I immediately picked Christian because I'm just like, I need them to know when I go to these doctor's appointments. I need them to see this next to my name so they don't play this stupid game with me.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I once did a video on my channel about these doctors, and I know I'm bringing up Nazis a lot today, but but I was genuinely concerned with the way that our medical industry right now is looking a lot like the Nazis and some of the experimentation that's going on. Like they were experimenting on people in the camps. We are experimenting on children now.
Mm-hmm.
In Boston Children's Hospital, in Vanderbilt, in some of these other places. It's happening, and it does behoove us as parents to vet these doctors. And as soon as something like that comes up, I'd be like, all right, see you later.
I've been thinking about this a lot because when I had talked to the ultrasound tech, because my mom had went with me, and when we had mentioned what week do you find out gender, I was just waiting on the answer. I was like glued in. I was like, what they about to say? And they were just like, oh yeah, around week blah blah blah, and then we tell you what the gender is. I was like, cool, thank you. A scientific response. That's all I wanted. Because if they would have said anything like how this guy was talking about his pediatrician was like, well, do you identify as this, that, or the third? I would have lost it. I'd have been like, well, let me put my pants back on. Time to get up out of here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. This is a fear of mine. I ain't gonna lie to you. This is a whole fear of mine.
It's hard to trust now. That's one of the biggest things that's come out of the last few years is it's very hard to trust the authorities. So like teachers and clergy in the church and doctors and surgeons. Like I think there was much more trust 10 years ago, 15 years ago compared to now, especially if you are conservative, if you're a Christian, any of those things. Unless you're a progressive leftist who just completely disregards the science and then otherwise I don't think most of us fit in anymore. I don't know.
No, we don't. I mean, we talk about this all the time, how the government's starting to treat not only conservatives but Christians, Catholics. It's messed up. It's messed up all around. It's like the way we think, which is you would think would be the common sense. It's what I said earlier with the whole Sound of Freedom thing. You think all of this would be common sense, and they're just like, oh, you are alt-right wing, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, because I don't want this to happen to a kid? That should be common sense.
Common sense is not so common these days.
That's true. That is true. So it's unfortunate. But all right, guys, let us know what you think about this story. How do you feel? You like the dad? You would have blew a gasket? Because I know I would have. Everybody would have got cussed out. Or you just like, nah, he a transphobe. He needs to get with it. He needs to get with the times. It was an innocent question by the doctor. Let us know in the comment section down below. We'll probably pick your comment for next week's episode as long as YouTube doesn't shadow ban us again. All right, y'all. So that was another episode of So. This is the World Christian Podcast. Thank you for joining us like you always do. As usual, I'm Michelle, your other host, Jasmine. Make sure, now that the episode's over, head over to her channel. It's called Bold Reflections. Watch some videos, take in all the new stuff, and then when you're done, head over to my channel. It's called It's Your Girl Saying. Check out whatever live streams. I ain't been live streaming lately. Y'all, I be tired. All right.
Catch up on the old stuff.
Just watch the old stuff. Watch the old live streams. Watch the old videos. Y'all got it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never drop a video. And we will see you guys next time.